Ta-da! Who said you can't sit on the tire of the TR6 and work on the engine? Of course you can. It's not only Spitfires and GT6. Yeah, hi guys, welcome to another episode of the 1974 TR6, which we are fire restoring. It was in a little bit of fire, which turned out to be a little bit worse than what we expected, so we started dealing with the dash because that's where the fire was. But before we put it together, we decided also to take the frame off from under the car and repair it because it had a lot of issues. Before we picked up the car, we knew that it's going to require frame repair, so it wasn't a surprise. And in the last episode, I cut out the left trailing arm support over the cross member, and the whole t-shirt from underneath got removed, and we uncovered the holes that we knew that we have there for sure. So we uncovered those, and we already made the patches, and now we're gonna have to start welding everything together. For the cross member, we're gonna use my special jig that positions it in the right place. But before we install the cross member, we're gonna have to weld the patches that I made for the bottom of the frame. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking. And for this repair today, we're gonna be using this Arccaptain welder MIG200, which was sent to me for a product review. You know that I don't do a lot of product reviews on my channel. I used to do a little bit of car stereos and cameras and stuff like that, but I don't do that anymore. And I actually watched some reviews by pretty good channels. Carl from Make It Custom and Fitzy also, they reviewed this machine, and they both said that it was a pretty good machine. There's some functions of this thing that are amazing. My welder doesn't have them, and many modern welders don't have these options. We're gonna talk about them. But also one thing that is attractive to me in particular as well is that it can work on 220, but it can also work on 110. Sometimes you have to weld somewhere where you don't have access to 220. For example, I need to do some repairs on my trailer. I want to do the repair on the driveway, and there I don't have 220. Oh, look at that. It is light. It's definitely lighter than my machine. So what is it? It is a MIG welder, but not only. It is also a TIG welder, lift arc, but still it's a TIG welder. It's only DC, so you can't weld aluminum with it, but there's a way to weld aluminum, so we're gonna talk about that. And it's also an arc welder. I don't use arc a lot. This is the method that I learned when I was a kid, but I haven't done arc welding in probably 20 years now. Anyway, so it is MIG, TIG, and arc. And for MIG welding, you can also get a spool gun, again from Arccaptain. They have the spool guns available. You can buy it. It doesn't come with the machine. But with a spool gun, apparently you can do aluminum welding with MIG. I haven't done that. I don't know how to do it, so we're not going to demonstrate that. Also, I don't have the spool gun, but we're going to do a whole bunch of MIG welding. I'm not sure even if we're going to test the TIG. It doesn't come with the TIG gun as well. You have to obtain it separately. But to be honest, I want to use the MIG the most. So how does it work with 220 and 110? Well, you can plug it into 220 directly, or you have this adapter which you can plug it into 110, and that is 110 now. Here you have a chart which gives you some settings that you can do based on your gas that you're using, your wire diameter, and it gives you the voltage and the wire speed that you should use for different gauges of metal. But that's for more advanced welding. This machine actually has a feature that is very, very beginner friendly. And what I mean by that is you don't even need this chart. This machine has this synergy mode which adjusts your wire speed based on your voltage, your gas, and the wire that you're using. This is something that beginner welders are struggling with because you have to adjust your voltage and your wire speed. There's too many parameters to adjust, and it is tricky to figure out which parameter, you have to adjust your voltage or your wire speed or both. So this here eliminates one of them. Now you have to adjust only one. So that's a feature that is really good for beginner welders. Okay, so before we plug it in, let's see what else is in the box. So we have the arc welder gun or handle. I don't have electrodes, so I can't try that. We want to try the MIG mostly here. That's your ground wire, shielding gas line, your MIG gun. It's 3 meters long. That's pretty long. Different rollers for your different wire diameters for the wire feeder there, and some lenses and some stuff for your MIG torch. Oh, some stickers, Arccaptain stickers. I have to start a wall with stickers somewhere. I don't have one. And we have a manual. Arccaptain also has 2 years warranty, and they have pretty good customer services and all that. It's not some company that is impossible to get in touch with. They have the website and the customer services email that you can reach them at. They even have an app that you can download. I don't know what you can do with this app, but it's called Transparency app. So that's everything in the box. Unfortunately, there's no regulator for the gas, but not many welders come with regulators for your gas, so you have to buy that separately. We're going to use my regulator from the other machine that's already on my tank. So without further ado, let's plug it in and see what functions we have here. I'm going to have to read the manual though, because I'm not really familiar with everything. So I'm going to save you that, and I'm going to read it on my own, and I'll be back. So what do we see here? All right, so let's see what we have here. In the first place, we are in a MIG mode here, and you can switch between modes: MMA, arc welding, TIG welding. It's only DC, lift arc, where you have to touch your electrode for a brief moment and pull it up, and then the arc starts. MIG welding with a spool gun, so like we said, we can attach a spool gun here and do aluminum welding with MIG, and back to MIG. And this is what we're going to discuss the most, the MIG welder part of it. So in MIG mode, we see here the voltage and the wire feed in inches per minute. Right now, the way it is, you can adjust the voltage, go up and down, so you can go from 11 volts to 22 volts, and that is in 110 volt mode. So right now we're plugged into 110, but like I said, you can plug it into 220 and it's going to show you here what mode you are in. And your other number here is your wire speed. So you can control them separately if you want to, but what if you don't know how to do that manually? This is where the synergic mode comes in place. You press this button, now it shows you here syn, which means synergic mode, and now this here is still your voltage, but this now shows you amps. So depending on the voltage, of course, your amps are gonna change. So in 110 volts we can go only to 100 amps. So in this mode, I guess you can just control the whole welder with this one knob. You just make it cooler or you make it hotter, depending on how your weld feels. You want it a little bit hotter, you just turn the amps up, that turns your voltage up and turns your wire speed up to the proper speed. However, how does the welder know what the proper speed for the wire is if it doesn't know what wire we use and what gas we use? Well, it knows right here. So with this button here, we can choose between wire diameters. You can have 023, 030 wire. In metric, I believe these are 0.6 and 0.8. And then you can even go to 035 inch and 040 inch wire. I've never heard of that. So I'm usually welding with 030 wire for frame repairs because it's pretty heavy metal there, it's 16 gauge metal. You can also choose the type of gas that you're using, and here they're not very clear. That's why I'm gonna have to go to the menu and read it from there. because this is not showing you the type of gas, this is showing you the type of metal that you're welding. So this is the sign for carbon steel, and for carbon steel we use 100% CO2. So if your gas is 100% CO2, that's where you have to go. This is carbon steel mix, so you have 80% argon and 20% CO2. That's for flux welding, so in this case you don't have gas, so that's no gas. This is stainless steel. For stainless steel you're using 98% argon and 2% CO2. And this is for aluminum magnesium alloy, where you use 100% argon. If you're using pure argon, that's where you need to go. So I'm using mix, so that's where we're gonna be. And what else is there? Oh, I pressed this button. So this is T2, T4, and another option that I didn't mention earlier, that this welder can do that. So this is T4, T2. Apparently this is your trigger. These are, I don't know if you see them, but these are arrow down and arrow up. This means that you press the trigger, it starts welding. Let go of the trigger, it stops welding. That's your T2 option. But if you're doing a longer weld and your fingers get too tired, I don't see when you can do that, but maybe somebody's welding like that, you can go to T4 option, which has two double-sided arrows. This means that you press your trigger and it starts welding. You release, it continues welding. Then you press it again, it still welds, then you let go of the trigger the second time, and that's when it stops welding. That's if you're welding like yards of weld, but I don't think I'm ever gonna use that. And then this is an interesting option. This is a sign for spot welding. So now for spot welding, they mean what I know as plug welding, because spot welders have two electrodes and they pinch two or more layers of metal and they literally fuse them together. Here you have only one torch, so I'm assuming you can drill holes and make plug welds, but this is basically a timer. When you press the trigger, you can let go and it's gonna weld for 3 seconds or whatever you set it to. And then you can have perfectly equal timing for all your plug welds or spot welds as they call them. So I don't know how helpful that is. We're gonna try some plug welds with that, but basically that's everything about MIG welding. If you want to do your adjusting manually, you just turn off the synergic mode, and then you can control your voltage, which also controls your amperage. It just doesn't show it here. And you can control your wire speed. But if you're a newbie and you don't want to deal with all these numbers, you just press the synergic mode, select your wire, which, do you have to do that every time? I guess so. We're gonna leave it, let me turn it off for a second. No, it comes back to wherever it was. Okay. So wire diameter, you select your gas, and from there, you forget about the numbers. You just want it hotter, turn this knob. Even hotter, you turn more. You want it colder, you're blowing holes, for example, you turn it down. And you don't need to worry about voltage, amperage, or wire speed. It does it all for you. Okay, enough about the settings. That's all you need to know if you're a newbie or just a mid-range welder. If you're a little bit more advanced, this machine actually has more options that you can go and play with. For example, pre-flow and post-flow of gas in MIG welding, which is, I've never heard of that before, and a few other settings that you can mess with, but I'm not going to discuss these. They are in the menu, and if you're an advanced welder, you can go and play with them as well. So let's finally set this machine up and start welding, because this is a video about frame repair after all. So let's get crack-a-lacking with that. Okay, so these rollers, they have numbers here. This one says 08V, maybe because it's a V groove. And I know that 0.8 corresponds to 0.030 wire in inches. Right here it says it actually on my wire. It says 08 millimeters, and in brackets we have 0.030 inches. So we have to use the proper roller for that. And these here are corrugated, or whatever that the name is, or whatever the definition of that is. So this, I'm guessing, is for flux core wire. I don't know. And we can put the knob back in. Okay, and now we can clamp it. Wow, there's even light inside here. If it is in a dark area. How smart is that? I actually really like this option because sometimes your machine is somewhere in a corner and it's pretty dark there and you can't really see, but there's a light here. Interesting. So this is where we plug in our gun. Come on. Our torch, I mean. How do you take this out? It's a Duro connector apparently. So has only one way, of course. And then we tighten this. Our electrode, which is this, is gonna be on the positive side, which is here. So that's where we're gonna plug this in. And our ground wire is gonna be on the negative side. For flux core, you plug this here and this here, and you're good. So now let's see if we can feed wire. Somewhere in the manual I read that if you press and hold for 3 seconds and the machine doesn't recognize any welding in that particular moment, it automatically turns off your gas, so you don't waste your gas, and feeds the wire at higher speed, I guess, for when you're feeding it. So let's see what's gonna happen here. Here we go. There you go. It increased the speed. My welder doesn't do that. And now turns off the voltage as well. But it goes to the maximum inches per minute for the wire. Let's do that again. So initially, now it is at 18 volts and it goes at whatever, and now okay, I think we are stuck here. So okay, I think our wire got stuck here at the tip. Okay, so that's a cool option, because on my welder, when I feed new wire, when I change the spools, I turn the gas off from the tank so I don't waste it. But here it turns off automatically, which is great. So we are all set here. Now let's hook up the gas and we're ready to weld. I'm not gonna do test welds or anything. I'm gonna start straight with the repair and we're gonna make adjustments as we go. So that's the first repair. We're finally on the frame. Hopefully you can see the screen here and my welding over there at the same time. So we are at 110 volts at synergy mode, O30 wire, mix gas in 2T mode, so trigger on, trigger off, which means that now we only need to use this knob. Because we're at 110 volts here, we can only go, oh, actually we can go to 120 amps. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, so we're gonna start somewhere in the middle. Let's start with 80 amps. And because we're in synergic mode, voltage adjusts automatically and wire speed adjusts automatically. We don't need to worry about that. And let's see if we can make a tack. That's too hot. So we're just turning the knob down, 70 amp. Actually, I'm burning hose, wow. So we're gonna go to 60 amp. That's now a little bit too cold. 65 amp, voltage adjusts automatically. That's great, actually. You see how easy the adjustments are? maybe a little bit hotter. I actually like it. This little welder, actually, I really like it. Okay, so let me dress up appropriately for welding, and I'm gonna finish this. Okay, so actually I was worried that at 110 volts it's not gonna be strong enough to do welds here, but it turns out I was blowing holes here in the beginning, so I turned it down, but looks like I turned it down too low, so it was a little bit too cold. Then I played more with the settings, and finally I think somewhere here I was hot enough to do proper weld. You can see from inside here that on the two sides I don't have good penetration at all, but right here at the bottom and at the top I was pretty well set. So I'm gonna grind this flush, and I'm gonna do one more bead here with higher settings. But the thing is, with all the rust here around, even though I ground it a little bit, cleaned it up with the grinder and all that, but at the old rusty metal, that's how you weld. It's different when you have coupons on the table that are perfectly clean, no rust, nothing. And it's different when you weld on an old rusty metal with even goo here that was applied for rust prevention and stuff like that. So it's not, you're never gonna be able to do nice welds. You're gonna go and then you're gonna blow a hole, then you're gonna go back and you're gonna have to stack them. But I'm happy, I'm really happy with that. Now we're back to repairing mode. We're gonna show a little bit more about how the welder welds, but it's time for me to focus on my actual job here, right? Okay, so this entire thing is welded, and I'm pretty pleased with the performance of this little machine. Again, the metal that I'm welding is not easy to weld at all. I'm welding a little bit here, a little bit there, but it is, I'm more than happy. Honestly, my very honest opinion is I'm more than happy with the performance of this machine and how easy it is to set it up. I thought that I was gonna have to go to manual mode and adjust my wire speed manually, but no, it actually works pretty well. Now, the only problem that I see so far is that I selected the spot weld mode and I wanted to do my plug welds here, but unfortunately I can't adjust the time. So it goes for literally half a second and it stops. I made multiple spot welds, as they call them, one on top of the other to be able to fill one hole, but it wouldn't stay on for longer than that, like, I don't know, 1/3 of a second or something like that. And I tried everything possible to adjust that time from here, but I can't figure it out. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be using the spot weld mode, but the MIG welding, oh my God, I'm pretty happy with. All right, so I'm gonna do the plug welds here, and I'm gonna paint and weld this side as well, and then we're gonna continue with our frame repair. We're gonna repair this part there. Okay, so the plug welds are done. If they don't look great, that's because of my skills, not because of the welder. I'm actually impressed with this welder. So I've done this side as well. Yeah, some of them, this one still needs a little bit of work. Wherever the metal is clean, it welds pretty well. And here on the side, because of this burning and contaminating my shielding gas, is not great. So I'm gonna grind this now. I'm gonna probably needle scale this inside here, and then we're gonna paint everything and we're gonna move on to this repair. All right, I think this looks pretty good now. I welded it from the outside mostly because here inside we're gonna have to slip in the cross member, and I left notches here and up there for the flanges, because the trailing arm, you will see it goes like this. They might be a little bit too long, the notches might be too short, we will see. We have to test fit the cross member now, so that's next. It is gonna have to be shortened a little bit on both sides. I believe that's how they do it. They leave it a little bit longer so you can trim it to your needs, but this length here now from here to here, we don't want to change it. But now the way this bar is, that's something that I forgot to do. I'm sure we can move its position if we leave this member a little bit longer and just hammer it in. So we need to make sure that this member is where it's supposed to be, which I have another part of my jig that I should have installed by now, but I forgot. So let me show you that. This is what I'm talking about. So from this hole to this hole, we have this jig that keeps the distance the same. So here, I don't know why, we have 4 holes on the outside and 2 holes on the inside, but that's how it goes. The thing is though, wow, it's actually, the length looks like it is correct, but this hole here needs to be at the bottom. I'm assuming this hole is for draining the water, even though it's a little bit too high for that, but whatever. So this is the correct side with the hole down, the 4 holes. No, this is the same. Oh well, we have 2 arms that are the same, or no? Nah, never mind, I'm stupid. This is upside down. Okay, so now we have, yeah, we have the same side as the other one. The 4 holes need to be on the outside, and yeah. Okay, whatever. We're gonna weld this hole and we're gonna drill a new one. I don't care. So it looks like they made it the correct length now. They used to make it longer. Okay, I'm just gonna test fit it, but then we're gonna have to take it out and paint everything inside. We're gonna have to drill holes for plug welds on the arms. Maybe we can drill them here on the outside. Okay, let's see if it is gonna fit properly. Needs to shift to this side by a lot because this hole doesn't match, so we're gonna have to trim this side a little bit. I need to go probably 1/4 inch more, even more than 1/4 inch, but here, let me show you now. But here, the piece that I made is too long and it's stopping me, so I need to move it more so the hole here matches this hole. So I'm gonna take it out and shorten it, but you see how the flange goes into that notch that I made here and here. That's how it needs to be. So this hole is almost where we want it to be, so only this end needs to move in, and then we should be good to go. When we're bolted here, we're gonna see what we're gonna do here. Probably we're gonna have to extend this even more so we can weld it here, but this is easy job. Okay, so that worked. I was able now to push it further in, so the hole aligns this way, but now we need to go this way more, and same here. And for this reason, we need to move the whole assembly in this direction. But that's a little problem, because looks like I made this corner here a little bit too high, and now it is tight here at the end. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a cut here, like that, and I'm gonna open it a little bit, and then when we're done, we're gonna weld it wherever we wanna weld it. So for us, the most important is to put the arm exactly where it needs to be. The holes actually exactly where they need to be. The rest is easy. We can always extend, add metal, cut, bend, and whatever. The holes though need to be exactly where they need to be. By moving it this way, it's gonna open a little gap here as well. We already have a gap. We already have a gap here, and it's gonna become even bigger, so we're gonna have to add more metal, but it is what it is. We can't make compromises with the position of these holes. Okay, it matches perfectly now, I can see, but I'm not gonna put the bolts because, again, I'm gonna have to take it out and prep it, paint everything, drill holes. Actually, let me mark where the holes are gonna be. So starting from here all the way till the end, and the same underneath. Okay, let's take it out. So the holes for the plug welds are drilled. Before I used to make them on the inner piece and weld from inside, but actually I think this is much easier to do it on the outside. So it's ready to be tacked. So I think I'm gonna tack it on as many places as possible. Here I'm gonna weld it in full, and here too, and then when we're sure that it's not gonna move anymore, we can take out the jig and continue with enclosing this hole here, doing the plug welds. We're gonna have to make a plate for here. This is very big gap, so we're gonna make a angle piece for there to close that gap. Even for on inside here, actually, it is pretty. No, it's actually pretty big gap, so we're gonna have to put a piece of metal there as well. So let me dress up, and we're gonna start welding. So now we're gonna finish this. I'm gonna put a piece here. So we're gonna do something there. We're gonna make a piece for here that we're gonna weld in. Underneath, it's all welded too. Everywhere. There's one more plug weld that needs to be done. And we're gonna be done with this side. Oh, and we need to drill a hole here. We need to plug this hole and drill another one. Do we really need to? I don't know. We're gonna do it so people don't complain. Okay, it's all welded, and this hole has been plugged, and I drilled a new one. Not really sure what this hole is for, but I just realized that there's no left and right on this. When you go and buy them, it's the same part number for both. So I don't know. I don't remember dealing with a hole like that, but maybe I have. I don't know. But anyways, here, two beads of weld right next to each other, and here you see where I'm welding solid new metal to solid new metal. Look, the welder and my skills improve a lot. Where I'm welding, you see here we have solid metal to solid metal. It looks good, and then you move to the where we have rust and solid metal, then it's not great. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you clean the rusty surface, there's rust inside as well too, right? But anyway, it's welded all over the place now. I wish it was overlapping a little bit more here, but that's how they sell them now. It overlaps just by 1/4 inch on the bottom as well. So I'm gonna grind it just a little bit, like here, this drip I'm gonna grind, maybe a little bit the plug welds. On top maybe I'm gonna grind a little bit here and here, because that's where the body comes, right? We have a little bit of rubber like this that goes on top here, so maybe we should grind this flat, underneath not so much. And we're done with this side. I'm gonna go and repair the other side on my own. It has a little bit more problems even underneath, so this piece is pretty well rusted there, but yeah, I'm not gonna show you everything there like here. I'm gonna show you just little updates here and there. Maybe when I strip it, I'll show you what the situation there is. And yeah, and I'm gonna bring you back so we can make a shirt for underneath and install it, and only then we're gonna drop the whole thing down and we're gonna deal with this one. I still haven't decided whether I wanna cut material from here and weld or just repair here. But yeah, you see, I have to remove most of it. We will see. I haven't decided about that yet. All right, so this thing is also out. Look at the condition of it. Let's see. There's more inside, but whatever. So I took it out. I cut the rust all over the place, and it was much worse than the other side. You can see how far I needed to dig into both the outer piece and the inner piece, but the outer piece is almost done now. I mean, I made the patch, so it just needs to be welded from the outside, I guess. And then we're gonna make an extension for here as well for the inner piece, with a notch here to accept the flanges of the cross member. And this side is easy. Oops, we have this patch made. So that's my progress for now. Okay, this is all welded up, and we're just gonna paint it now. The holes are made. I don't know what these holes are for. Most likely they are the main reason for water going inside here, this enclosed little box, and creating all this trouble, but I don't know. I just made them again. This is patched and ground down because here it needs to be smooth, so we can put the trailing arm support. But here I didn't grind anything. I'm leaving it as it is. All right, look at all these welds. Oh my God, I didn't know I could make welds like that. Quite honestly, I'm realizing more and more that until now I've never had proper settings on my welders. Like, I probably don't know how to do my settings. I mean, inside here it's hard to weld, but wherever you are welding solid metal to solid metal, it just welds. So I'm really impressed with this little guy. My very, very honest opinion. I don't know about the other functions, the TIG, the spool gun, I don't know, I've never done that. And arc welding, yeah, maybe I will need something like that at some point, I don't know. But the MIG part is great. And I used it entirely at 110 volts, and my breaker is 15 amp. So you can use it anywhere, in any small garage, no problem. You don't need 220. I saw in one of the other reviews that at 220 volts, they cranked it up to 180 amps. 180 amps out of this little machine, it's crazy. And you see, I'm using it at 72. So more than enough at even 110 volts to do heavy jobs like this. This is 16 gauge metal, and in the automotive restoration, you don't go any higher than that. You don't go any heavier than that. Like, I barely weld anything heavier than 16 gauge metal. So anyway, that's about the machine. Now about our frame. I think we did great so far. I mean, both arms are replaced now. Now we have to make a t-shirt for underneath and install it, and then we can drop it down and deal with this t-shirt on top. I still haven't decided what we're gonna do with it. I mean, probably we're gonna take it out just to make sure that there's no damage underneath here, because there's a little bit of damage here, and that tells me that probably there's more here. And now that we are at it, why not? You know, we also probably we're gonna combine that in the next episode with the differential mount repair. I've done multiple videos on those lately, but there's gonna be something special on this one. We're gonna make our own repair kit for here. I tried to buy the kit locally and I couldn't find it. In my regular source, I usually buy them from British Parts Northwest. They have them, but to ship just that kit, it's gonna cost me $40–50, and it's not worth. If I had more parts to add and like combine, okay, great, but just for one kit, I'm not gonna spend that much on shipping. So we're gonna make our own, and it's gonna make for a good video, but that's gonna be next video. And my little jig saved my butt one more time. I don't know how I came up with this like 8 or 9 years ago, but the first jig that I made at that time still serves me well. You see, it is something thrown together really, really fast without too much thinking, and it's still serving me so well. So I'm happy with it. So we're gonna end this one here. Thank you guys so much for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and supporting the channel. Your financial support is highly appreciated. I keep saying that, but without you, I wouldn't be able to make those videos so detailed. I wouldn't give up if I was relying only on the YouTube revenue. I would still make videos, but they weren't gonna be that detailed. It would be just little updates here and there, and that's it. So thank you guys for making it possible for me to make that videos, because I really enjoy doing that. As much as I enjoy restoring cars, I also enjoy making the videos. So thank you for giving me that opportunity, and I hope that that benefits you as well, so you can be entertained a little bit and also learn together with me how to do this and that, and learn from my mistakes as well, etc., etc. So thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.